In the world of Elen, a great war between the continents of Evros and Elkesh is forcibly brought to an end by the Tempest, a cataclysmic storm that rages over the surrounding oceans. An uneasy peace has been solidified, but over the last 2 centuries a cold war has frozen the hearts of many. A group of adventurers calling themselves the HYDRA have joined to thaw out the ice. Their mutual friend has been slain, and now their quest to solve an ages-old mystery truly begins. Blood is hotter than water, in a debt to a friend. A homebrew campaign.
I apologise in advance for the presentation of this video. It's not going to be my best sessions recap. Because, one, I wasn't there for session 13 of A Debt to a Friend, which I was really... I always look forward to Debt to a Friend. And it really doesn't help either that everyone else there was like, oh, we're really gutted you couldn't come, or it was a corker of a session. If only you were there! Yeah, thanks guys, that makes me feel a whole lot better, but I do appreciate that one of the players has taken the notes and has sent them to me, so thank you, Cornelius Bonaparte. Have a Johnspiration, which can't really be used in the game. It can, but it doesn't really have any mechanical benefits, really, so... also as well, yeah, so I do have my own notes, but they are not very well recorded. I was still getting into the mojo of typing things up. I'm going to do my best for this one, though. So I apologise that the imagery may not be as evocative, that the editing might not be as good, so you'll have to bear with me as I do this. But hopefully I'll get my mojo back and be able to continue producing videos. Hey! So, having defeated the Sewer King in Session 12 and having earned themselves a celebratory feast, the party decides that they're going to follow up on Cornelius' idea of taking the overwhelming amounts of meat stored in the bag of holding that is probably very smelly, at least for these smells of bacon, to an orphanage. But not just any orphanage, an orphanage that is run by a man by the name of Omar Patton, a name that is not really relevant to the party up until we reveal that he knows Cornelius Bonaparte, and it appears as though they went to the same orphanage together. I believe in Friagate, or Friagate rather. More on that towards the end. So Omar Patton runs this orphanage because he does not want orphans to go through the whatever horrors happened at the one in Friagate to happen to other children. That orphans, can't really be orphanage can't really be prevented. We can't stop children from losing their parents and legal guardians, but we can make the conditions better for them. So, as Cornelius and Omar talk, we donate the food purchased from the butcher shop, the fucking huge amounts of food. And the party decides that they're going to pay for the meal, so stay for the meal rather. So I cook up a rather large meal. Now I would have loved to have seen, I would have loved to have done it myself, but I imagine that the DM, because they're really good with on-the-fly sort of cookery stuff, I would love to have seen their narration of how this small rock gnome is doing things, whilst Ragnar and Odin are pushing tables together. And Omar and Cornelius catch up while sitting at the side of the room. So Cornelius and Omar are talking about how they ended up in the Order of Melee. Both kind of just wandered into it, really. I wonder if it was perhaps the musical notes guiding them. Now, I'm going to say now, because there's no sort of editorial bit to say here that there's spoilers, because I've spoken to Cornelius' player about his background around the time of Session 0 and character concepts for when he was first playing D&D. So if this is spoilers, if you don't know about Cornelius' background, and as in like mechanical background, like for example my character's a soldier, I think H.Y.D.R.A is a guild artisan, Rakanar is an outlander. If you don't know about that, now might be the time to just skip ahead. Otherwise, it's quite an interesting twist, and Cornelius hasn't really shown a lot of it. I have to give kudos to his player. He sort of kept his cards very close to his chest. I think the only time he did was he sort of like showed his hand a little bit was when he sort of suggested to leave me behind as we find the Temple of Volca. So Cornelius, again, last warning for spoilers before I go on, confides in Omar about how he's deceiving the party, and he regrets his actions because of how close he feels to them now. Now, what deception this is, the party members do not know. Maybe except his secret alliance with H.Y.D.R.A, in terms of like just like doubting the professor and seeing where things go. So Omar reassures Cornelius, saying that that he'll find his way, that possibly, and I'm just editorializing here, that the life that he has led, the events of his childhood, have led him to do that have given him no choice but to do the things that he has done to survive and to escape the horrors that he had experienced. Omar tells of Zhukov, who I previously thought was Reznov. No, a completely different person. Although I would possibly like Commissar Reznov, giving his our land, their land, their blood, their whatever, from Call of Duty Black Ops, that sort of thing. So anyway, moving on. So yeah, and how Zhukov has had nightmares of a being looking like a human nervous system without a body and a large beast, and how afterwards Zhukov changed and left for Friagate, talking of making things whole. So, make us whole was mentioned in Cornelius' dream, where he was at camp and he found himself up on a mountaintop. And he came across this being, and there was a chorus of children's voices screaming out to make us whole, whatever that meant. So Omar requests that if Cornelius does go to Friagate, just make sure that Zhukov is okay. Cornelius agrees and asks of his friend to protect himself, and gives him his dagger for protection. So I'm reading this as Cornelius has given a dagger to Omar, so that's good. I'm very glad he didn't give over the vault thrower. So yeah. The meal is placed, interrupting the chat, and it's apparently 10 out of 10. I'm dead chuffed. Thank you, DM, for probably rolling so well. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's a good thing. Like, I'm really nervous. I'm a really nervous roller in D&D. In this campaign, like when I rolled as Gorville Grimhammer in Lost Man of Felnelva, it's like I could have taken or left the results, but here it's like the things I do feel like like so much hinges on them. And I suppose that's a really good DMing technique as well, like to make every roll seem important. That there's something there that if you roll badly or you rolled a different skill, it could have gone very differently. So and our DM rolls really well when he's a DM and not a player. So hey, thank you. Unless there was no roles involved, it was just good anyway. Fine by me also. So, Odin, now having pushed all the tables and chairs together, probably lost a lot of blood in the process, decides that he's going to just take some time and just like sit a while, and he engages in conversation with the orphans leading him. I particularly like Odin's backstory, what little of it I actually managed to really sort of engage in, because I'm not really that great a roleplay with it. I'm sort of engaged through mechanics and such, and NPCs rather than with the other players, which I kind of need to improve on, which I have been working on in session 14 admittedly. And he mentions how he was like I think like a docker's son, or he lived in an orphanage in the docks, and like the children didn't like him very much, viewed him with superstition, and worse, bullied him because of his eyes. And so I imagine that this is good for him to finally have some respect from children, no longer fear and possibly even disgust. So they decide that they're going to go to a temple. Now it says here they proceed to a temple of Pelor, so I don't know if that's the party or him and the children, or if it's just Odin. Goes to a temple of Pelor, and he finds a dimly lit temple and a hooded man who reveals himself to be Wyatt. So Wyatt and Odin do a quick debrief of the Sewer King events, and Wyatt wants Odin to work more closely with him, and so they disappear into the darkness together. And so Odin, the Raven Ulfheim, human gunslinger fighter, is no longer with the Hydra, or at least his head is that head is preoccupied. A group of priests then show up to the orphanage to cure all blood curse. To cure our blood curse, I think that's meant to say. I forget who sent them, Wyatt or Omar. I imagine, based on like my mind's eye, I'm guessing that Wyatt sent them as a bit of a reward, just to keep them fighting fit and to do their duties to the crown. The group are led to the back room to be tended with the commissar leading the way, and afterwards Cornelius rushes to the commissar's bakery with the party in hot pursuit, including Omar. And I'm sort of reminded of perhaps like Back to the Future, where Cornelius has to put on a show. Perhaps the people there aren't quite ready for Johnny Be Good. So the commissar's parents agree as Ragnar moves tables together. Good God, I mean, Ragnar's building up his strength here, isn't he? He's really using that strength stuff. Moves tables together, and Omar holds the door open as Cornelius starts to play, and a crowd is drawn in, and Omar stands on top of the tables playing his harp. How lovely. That sounded really nice. Cornelius sees the elf girl who carried him on the stretcher, and she starts to sing with the music. Oh, I haven't read this far into the notes, so it's like, it's making me going. After the show ends, Cornelius says he loves her, and that she says, "You don't even know my name," and so so they introduce each other, and her name is now you'll have to forgive me. I'm not very good with elven names. That's probably a bit elf racist, so I do apologise. Myleala Maya Eilfir. Myleala Maya Eilfir. I think I may still be an elf racist. They go on a date afterwards to an ice cream parlour, ice cream place. Cornelius tells the party about the next morning. And so the next morning the party awakens, and they find a very complex riddle of a letter left in what should have been Odin's room, seemingly telling him of his departure. So carrying on with the sort of military cant, the commissar reads it and goes, "Yep, this is indeed the letter. This is indeed the intention." I imagine probably tucks it away compulsively, and the party heads to the shop, or perhaps even disposes of it. The party heads to the shop to pick up purchase gear and stop at the Red Crest headquarters, where they are given invitations to go to a formal ball. If I remember correctly, the commissar is looked upon with a newfound respect from the officers there. I can confirm that with talks with the DM. Before, because we're just about to move. We're just about to move into out of Drummoth. I would like to add a bit of editorial stuff. Nothing bad at all. The DM did say that, look, if there's anything you want to retcon in terms of your character's involvement, we can work together on that. So one of the things that I would like to have done is, I think I did see Damien and just sort of make a bit of small talk and ask how he's doing, and he says that we can find him at the Royal College of Magics if we want to find him next. So I think we will. We have a spell book in our possession that I would, out of all the people that I could possibly think of that may be at the Royal College of Magics, Damien would be the one who better suited to handle it because of his dealings with the cultists. And he's the one who probably knows them better than anyone else there. So we're not just handing in a random spell book to be rented out like a blockbuster. I was about to say Warlock Buster, but that doesn't quite work. Lockbusters doesn't work either. So, wonder if it's Pact of the Tome. Anyway, also as well, I did say in my letter to Captain Jansen, that was written by my mother from Gnomish. So the scrying spell hopefully wouldn't be able to see through it. Although I'd like to stay at the office, willing to take a point of exhaustion. To do the paperwork and give him some time to spend with his troops at the pub or see his family, and just appreciate how dangerous life is, and that you don't love the sword for its sharpness, you love for the things it protects, that sort of thing. So yeah, I would love to know a bit more about Jansen, see if he had a family and all that good stuff. But hey, that's okay. Hopefully there'll be other opportunities to ask. Hopefully by the end of all this business, we'll all be alive to ask. But otherwise, that's it really. Yeah. Maybe adding that because I made a mock-up sketch of the commissar's epiphany of what she wants her weapon to look like. Because I came up with this idea that the commissar's, I guess, goal throughout the entire game, her long-term story thing, could be that she wants to make the perfect weapon. So she wants to make a gun that ironically requires parts from anyone that you may potentially war with. So if you the stock is made out the stock and the body and other such stuff is made out of Protectorate of Braca elm, and you've got a Denmarsh steel for the different bolts, nuts and bolts, and all the metal work, and then you want Drummoth black powder to use it, and the weapon should be so good that anyone who tries to improve upon it will weep, and that to try and modify it would be an insult to the memory of the person who made it. Also as well, because it is made of all these other things from different continents, you can't actually go to war with the person that has the parts Yeah. If you want bullets, you can't go to war with Drummond because you need their bullets, you need their gunpowder. You can't go to war with the Free States because you need their metalwork to maintain the gun. If you want, to go to war with Ebros, I want to say. I believe it's Ebros. Forgive me, I haven't looked in a good while now. You can't go to war because you need the wood for the gun. So, it was just a little idea. I don't know if the DM wants to go down that route or anything like that, but it's something worth considering. Hey, it doesn't actually have to work. You can have a long-term goal and it just completely, screw up because, you're not really meant to win D&D. It's not all happy endings, is it? So we'll see how it goes. I apologise. I'm just looking at my camera as well that the lighting is going a bit funny, so I do apologise for that. But I'll try and wrap this up as quickly as I can. So that's really it. So yeah, the commissar is fine. I'm fine with how that went. Really, everything else. Yeah. So that's it for Drummond. The party then proceeds to retrieve their rental horses. I'm trying to think now how much it would have cost to buy them, because I think these horses are really good characters, especially when Ragnar talks to them. With the hoof bumps and such. So, so perhaps they'll buy them and get some stuff, and maybe even get some saddlebags, so I can secretly put my stuff in them and be less encumbered. Alright, so the party retrieves their rental horses, and as they're on the way to the crater, we cut to Nix, Dragonborn Paladin, who wakes up in a crater when he hears horses in the distance, and with a natural 20 races up the side of the crater and then rushes up a tree to watch. The party finds a crater, and Ragnar inspects it, looking for the professor as Cornelius and the commissar stand on the sidelines keeping watch. Tak casts some sort of magic that causes his voice to boom. Out of the years that I've known D&D, I don't know if it's thaumaturgy or prestidigitation that does this. I've been reading the books for years. I'm a compulsive metagamer. I've been playing for what must be over a year, and I still don't know which one of those two spells it is. And it's a cantrip, and it's a cantrip that every spellcaster I have besides my current character has. Causing Cornelius to release a scaredy fart while still riding Marvin. I got on a train home from my holiday, and I missed that. I could have got a later train. I could have put the job start off just a little bit later. But no. I had to miss Cornelius farting. I can see now why everyone was gutted that I missed that. A moment of silence. Tak reveals himself as he laughs, and Cornelius rushes Tak and embraces him, and Tak, in kind, gives him a loving nuggie in a brotherly way. Ragnar remains distant and suspicious of Tak. The commissar debriefs Tak on the current mission, probably breathlessly. And then we slayed the sewer king, and then we took his spellbook, and then we took some coins, and then we did this, and then we did that. So, and chain of events, and I forgot. Just bear with me. Oh yeah. So, Cornelius Player has mentioned here. I forgot if we even asked why he was there. I think it was something to do with the Raven Queen or some other religious thing. So more on that later as well. So Nero is sent out to look for the downed airship as Cornelius asks Reckoner if Nero could swoop down holding a wedding ring, so he could propose to Maya that way. I kept catching this like towards the end of session 13. Like, it was just one date. You've only been on one date. And hang on a second, where did he get a wedding ring from? Oh no, I don't think he's got. No, I see holding a wedding ring. I thought he said the wedding ring. I was gonna say, like, they're fucking expensive. Like warding bond requires like 2 platinum rings worth 50 gold each. It's like, that's for one spell that lasts like, what, an hour? Ceremony is like 25 gold pieces worth of platinum rings or something. So, Rakanar says that that's up to Nero, and Cornelius takes that as a yes, and promises to name his child after Rakanar. Rakanar Bonaparte does actually have quite a name to, ring to it, I must admit. No pun intended about the ring. Moving swiftly on, Nero locates the crashed airship, and Tak senses with his divine sense multiple hostiles ahead, but out of sight. So, this isn't a... I'm not criticising the DM, because I wasn't there, obviously, but I think, like, 'cause this happened in the session that I was there, I don't think Divine Sense... In fact, no, I think actually the DM did work around this in session 14. Divine Sense doesn't work behind total cover, I don't think. I don't think you can see through walls. I think as long as the enemy is in sight, like within your line of sight, or behind partial cover, whatever, you can sort of, like, see their aura. But even then, I think as well, like I think the DM's narration of you don't sense anything, kind of like when you search for traps and you roll a 2, you don't see anything. Yeah, that's because your eyes are closed. But never mind, eh? But yeah, it's I think that's how it works. I'm not sure. I know for like Eyes of the Grave, you couldn't see behind total cover, and it was like you could only see through like a very thin material. So there is that. But I mean, like, Paladins had it better than Clerics of the Grave, so yeah. But yeah, anyway, that's just a little editorial thing. I don't know if it's even true anyway. So, and hey, the DM played a Paladin anyway, so they'll know far better than I will. Cornelius casts level 3 invincibility. Sorry, invisibility. It might as well be invincibility. It's level 3. When do I get level 3 spells? Level 9, I think? Or 10? Bards. Fucking bards, you know? I had to play a 3rd caster, didn't I? Oh, a half caster. Whatever they are. I don't know. Bards. Level 3. Invisibility. Yeah, go ahead. Then again, I get some other cool stuff, so I get to reflow over it as well, so that's not too bad. Invisibility. I wish I was there for that. That's a cool spell. Of Rakanar and Tag. And so humanoid figures are spotted. Some are dragging others. Rakanar and Tag quietly make their way up before the figures disappear. So where they're currently at is they're at the ruins of a place where the airship has crashed. There's a couple of buildings, and they appear to be dragging. These humanoid figures seem to be dragging the bodies down into a cellar of sorts. So as they're approaching, they observe a black metallic dragon, like before, from the fight where we last saw the professor, being ridden by something that looks like a human nervous system but without a body, and purple spheres appear in front of it, and it zaps the body with the purple electricity, then flies away, with Cornelius only seeing the dragon, but not the figure. Tecavrea falls back to let Cornelius and the Commissar know to move up, which scares Cornelius into yet another scaredy fart. Again, had I just plugged my headphones in a bit sooner when I was at the bus station, I could have caught that. Could have caught it. Where Cornelius reveals he is lactose intolerant due to the ice cream from the night before. What a save! What a save! Like that's a charisma save if ever there's been one. You want an example of a charisma save? That's it right there. Hey. So, upon moving up, the party stays in silent communication with Cornelius using the message spell. Cornelius Bonaparte's player. You were the one who wrote the notes. You should know what spell it was. Anyway, yes, it was probably the message spell, Cornelius Bonaparte's player. And relays messages back and forth between the party members as he points in numerous directions to identify where Tack and Reckoner are. I think this also established as well the finger pistols, which are considerably cooler than my gun. So the party finds a shack with a staircase, so this is where the cellar is, and the commissar lays down an alarm on the stairs as we proceed down. We then push open a large set of doors, revealing a pile of bodies and 3 creatures chanting over them. They notice our presence and the chanting stops, and the bodies begin to pull together into a zombie golem thing, which I think the DM said is a zombie clot. Now I don't know if that's an official monster, but when I saw the artwork for it, it's terrifying. There was like this comic called Brit. It's like in the same universe as Invincible. It's from Image Comics, and like the first issue is like this guy who like has people climb together, and I was like sort of like oh, it was a Clive Barker story where like these people get together like once a year and they make like a person out of people. That goes drastically wrong. So anyway, the party fights them. Yeah. And I don't keep a combat log anymore, sadly. So I do have the details. So I don't have the details of comms on the combat, sadly. But we win. Hey, that's what counts. To anyone who's writing the notes for these, don't worry about it. Like I didn't. I'm probably going to not write the notes for combats unless they're significant or the significant events, but it was probably very, very epic. The session ends immediately after the battle due to a hard stop on time. I think Reckonar's player is now being more pressed for time as he's going to get off to bed and get up early for work the following day. So that's it for session 13. So the party faced off with a zombie clot, and now they're in the ruins of this ancient building, a map that I recognised, and so will Cornelius player as well, for what was a really interesting idea for a session. And so we lead into session 14, and no, I'm not going to tell you what that session was about. The one with Cornelius Bonaparte's player and I. Having successfully defeated the zombie clot, the party just watching in awe as the bodies just fizzle and melt, no longer resembling anything they used to. They turn into a mist and head to the ceiling. They don't appear to be able to heal themselves again through dark magics or any other means. Any attempts for the bodies to try and coagulate fail as they just turn into jelly and eventually water and steam. H.Y.D.R.A, having taken quite the beating in the fight, heals himself for 15 hit points with its lay on hands, the cawing of ravens sounding as he binds his wounds. In this passage, in this hallway, there a central chamber There are 3 doorways, one to the west, one directly to the north, and one to the east. Giant cracks and deep, dark drops, as well as shrubberies and other sort of foliage trying to grab whatever light they can litter the hallway. We decide that we're going to head north, and in there is a broken door, a dimly lit brazier, and foliage is trying to eke out its way to the sunlight above. And there are also bodies in the chamber ahead. Rigsby goes ahead, finding no traps or really anything worthy of note. The brazier has been moved, fueled and lit, but we can't know for how long. We don't really know much about the bodies in the chamber to the north, other than they are human and that they belong to the Royal Ostergathian Air Force. Tack searches the bodies and finds bits and pieces of airmen, but he finds something unusual. There's a few scraps from a book or journal. Opening them up, it's not entirely complete, but it appears to be a captain's log. Tack reads it further. Now, you'll have to forgive me that I didn't quite catch all of the mention of the logs. I tried to type them up as fast as I could. Day 1. HMAS Swiftsure. Captain Lucius Ward. We set sail to the forest to the east. Some lost noble. Someone wealthy enough to pull the strings of high command. We're away. Closing in on the coordinates. I've read the sealed orders. I was wrong. Some sort of attack this close to Kingdom territory? No, it's surely a jest. But orders are orders, as she commands. Day 5. We found something. Some kind of metal fragment at the bottom of the crater. I haven't seen anything like it, strong and yet absurdly light. We're returning to Drummoth, doubling the watches. It's not right. Asked our mage to send a message ahead of us. We had to hear anything back. The log ends. It looks as if some of the pages have been ripped and torn out. You find some spent pouches of black powder. H.Y.D.R.A looks to a hallway to the right, finding it's clear, so it seems. Just bear with me as I try to find my place of my notes. And Tack goes to the left, finding a door that isn't trapped, and it opens to reveal a chamber with flickering light. There's collapsed pillars, shrubs bursting through the foundations, and a statue to the far left. And despite being obscured somewhat by the foliage, it is still visible. A beating of raven's wings hits the back of Tekavrea's mind. He clears off the vines and ivy and sees a face. The face of the Raven Queen. He tries to meditate on the beating of raven's wings, and Rigsby moves to cover a doorway with H.Y.D.R.A and peas oil nearby. Tack finds a fluid on the statue, feeling brackish, viscous blood. He looks up and sees above the sky ravens and thunder. To his front is a great tree now, ravens sitting atop it cawing as if they are one. They snap their heads to one direction. Tack follows the directions. He sees a figure holding its hands up almost in supplication. The figure is very familiar, as he's seen them not too long ago. It's made of blood and sinew, a rusted crown atop its head, a cape bellowing behind it. Humanoid figures begin to rise from the pool of blood from it, and the undead scream to the sky. He's jolted back into the ruin from his meditations, and a single raven feather drops to the stony floor. He regains, upon its touch, one spell slot of his choosing. quite a nice boon. I have to give the DM that. Currently this goes south, finger gunning at things without casting spells. So he's just going to scout ahead and going, ah, like that. Confidently striding and aggressively pointing at bodies and coffins and hedges. Eventually he finds nothing. So yeah, he's not actually even casting any spells, he's just pointing at it like that. Like I'm doing now, just pointing to go away. And so H.Y.D.R.A goes up to the coffins towards the southwest, and he can't identify the language. It has been obscured by time, as well as just the fact that he can't read whatever it says. H.Y.D.R.A rolls a natural 20 to learn of the Raven Queen statue, recognizing her and her altars in the wilds. He understands now why H.Y.D.R.A was so reverent of the statue in his meditations. So now we're going to go to the corridor on the right, and once again we see a pile of bodies in a near-perfect circle, and Cornelius takes charge, pointing his finger guns and shoots a sacred flame. The DM mentions that this is a war crime according to the Geneva Convention. We investigate the bodies and find one with legible text. Some time has passed, according to this log. Day 7. Acting Captain's Log. HMAS Swiftshaw. First Ensign Andreas Conrad. Swiftshaw has been shot down. On leaving the crater we saw what can only be described as a metallic dragon shot us down. Radiant beam of energy destroyed us. More senior staff are dead. I never dreamed my first command would be like this. There are things here. The entry ends. There's more. There are things here. Or undead things here. Like the story Grismoldians tell their children. Stupid superstitions. They got 2 of the ratings before we could even set up defences. Maybe we can hold out long enough for our rescue. The entry ends. There's a few more pages, and so Tack continues reading them. Day 9. This will be my last entry. The dragon announced its arrival by destroying the barricades. More undead came, but didn't dodge the bullets. I can't see us lasting another day. I have a wife and children in Friagate. Friagate. If you see them, tell them I love them. The quill appears to be swiped away as if by a claw, rather than just pulled away gently. Tack hands me the captain's logs, and I let him know that I'll tell the family. Meanwhile, we discuss our next move. We should clear the dungeon, per the pragmatic Raven Queen's funerary rites, arrange for a funeral pyre to prevent the dead from rising again. Whatever relation H.Y.D.R.A has to the Kingdom of Ostergarth as someone who hails from Braca, is put aside for the fact that he has a duty to perform to the Raven Queen and to deal with the undead. We go further south and a door opens and we see a yawning chasm going down 7 feet. We're going to use a door to bridge the gap, and by using my intelligence +3 proficiency and Brackenar's 7 sleight of hand, we build a bridge successfully, and the door creaks, but I make it over, but it can't take much more weight besides a small creature like myself. So, I investigate the room. The braziers are lit magically, because there's no way that anything got over here without just solely to light these braziers, so it was indeed magical. Thank you, DM. And the room has nothing but a sarcophagus to the west within, and it has celestial writing inscribed upon it. Now, I can't read celestial, that's yet another language that I tend to have and do not. And Tack, I ask if anyone could recognise this language if I try and say it badly, whatever. So Tack peers at it and I think sort of just makes out some celestial words and says, yeah, those are celestial characters. So he makes a running jump with an athletics check of 24, clearing the chasm, knowing that the door cannot support the weight. So Tack reads, "Here lies the champion of Our Lady. May her reign in the Shadowfell last for eternity." He makes a sign of the Raven Queen, whatever that is, like, I don't know, like, what was it? Oh, like that, maybe? I don't know, like the Imperial Aquila. And lets the group know what it says, and that it is entombed. That entombed is the lady's champion. H.Y.D.R.A resists the urge to open the sarcophagus. Now, we're thinking of a way to send H.Y.D.R.A back across the chasm, because I can go across the doorway, maybe one last time before the bridge collapses completely. And we spend about a good 5-10 minutes plotting this, and I realise, oh, I've got Vortex Warp. And Vortex Warp is a spell that basically allows you to teleport any creature, if it's willing to be teleported. If not, then it has to do like a Constitution saving throw, which for me would be like 15. So yeah, so I just zapped him across the chasm, like in Gmod, just taking the Gmod gun and like a blue beam just goes over to him, lifts him up, just carries on there. That's how I imagine like my sonic screwdriver working, like the Gmod gun. So yeah, so we create a funerary pyre in the tomb. I speak the words of the Royal Air Force, commonly displays as bagpipes, and we do, I think, have Scotland the Brave playing for about a good 2 minutes, like 2 full minutes, and we sort of just sit there. And we sort of made up a rule where whenever the bagpipes play, the song must play the entire time. We cannot progress any further until the song has finished. It's a nice little break, and it's a nice little song. It's a really nice song, actually. I love it. But inside this chamber, should we have wanted it, as H.Y.D.R.A doing the prayer, the DM tells us what was in the tomb should we have looted it in the sarcophagus, and it would have been a sword of vengeance. Now, again, spoilers if you want them, then listen on. If not, then it's a pretty nasty weapon. I mean, it's really, really nasty. So you get a +1 attack and bonus to attack and damage rolls made with this magic weapon. So it's a sword that's magical. Great. However, it is cursed, and it is possessed by a vengeful spirit. Becoming attuned to it extends the curse to you. As long as you remain cursed, you are unwilling to part with the sword, keeping it on your person at all times. So that would have been interesting, given that H.Y.D.R.A has the Hammer of Volca, and you might say, well, okay, it's only got to be on his person, right? So he could just have it sheathed on his back while he has the hammer. No. While attuned to this weapon, you have disadvantage on attack rolls made with weapons other than this one. In addition, while the sword is on your person, you must succeed a DC 15 saving throw whenever you take damage in combat. And bear in mind that H.Y.D.R.A as a paladin, a frontline fighter, on a failed save, you must attack the creature that damaged you until you drop to hit 0 hit points, or it does, or until you can't reach the creature to make a melee attack against it. So it's like compelled duel, essentially, to the death. You can break the curse in the usual ways. Alternatively, casting banishment on the sword forces the vengeful spirit to leave it. The sword then becomes a +1 weapon with no other properties. So, even if H.Y.D.R.A were to use the banishment or whatever on it, it still probably wouldn't be worth it in the end anyway. So, but it was what an interesting weapon to put there, and like yeah, I love like IDM's got some really interesting loot in the game, so I like that a lot. That was great. So anyway, we're told that, and as the DM has explained, this attack of Rhea uses his dragon breath to burn the pyre. So we turn our backs to the ruins. Cool guys, don't look back at explosions, and make our way to Friagate, bidding farewell to the horrors faced before and the brave souls who lost their lives from the HMAS Swiftshore. So we make our way to Friagate. We skirt Drummoth's walls, across canals, nearing Flint Down, and we make our way to the Royal College. At camp, Ragnar makes a hearty stew with rabbit, meat that he found with Nero, and as a bit of a session recap for me, and some roleplay opportunity, I asked Takavria what he was looking for when the Raven Queen called him, and he says balance. He tried to balance the call of the Raven and adventuring. He found a shrine, not knowing what time had passed, and prayed for crazily days at a time without food or drink. And then she came. A long discussion came, and a battle of wills came about. The entity within the Hammer of Volca and the Raven decided to emerge from his mind's eye. And from that, not much can be remembered. When he had awoken, he felt balance. Time passed again, and he found himself at the crater. He scrambled into a tree and watched us, and that's when he rejoined the party. Looking at him, Tak appears to be a different person, but otherwise fine and ready to keep on adventuring with us. I check the mood of the party, and we all seem eager to go, but Ragnar especially is impatient. He wants to investigate these places of power, and soon. Ragnar asks how we each met the Professor, and why we were chosen, why not any other of his colleagues, and that if he is a dragon, why not other people that he may have been with throughout the possible centuries of life that he's had. Ragnar already knows my story. I've told it breathlessly, about how Rigsby was a commission for the Professor. Tak suggests the idea that dragons like to collect things. That perhaps people are something they collect for their own plans. That the Professor may have had a reason that we don't know yet. Tak doesn't really know his childhood, only that he was dropped off at Bracca and was apprenticed as a blacksmith. And that's where the question sort of remains in the air, something for us all to ponder. So thank you, Ragnar's player, for telling us that. Now, the following morning, Ragnar goes ahead faster than the party and rushes past a waterfall. I've put here as an editorial, which would have had treasure in it, because all waterfalls have treasure behind them. Except we do one better. The treasure, not all things that glitter are gold. We got something even better. Ragnar, crossing a bridge, hears something underneath it. A voice calling, "Excuse me, can you help me, good sir?" Apparently, underneath this bridge is another bridge. And it's an ogre, a rather lanky figure, who needs help in getting to the bridge above. And I wish I recorded the full extent of this conversation, I really do, because it was brilliant. Basically, this is a rather posh ogre, more like just a very lanky orc, who needs a bit of help getting to the bridge above, because I think it's Mord Visigrath. Forgive me the pronunciation. where all the trolls and ogres come from, and orcs and such. And they have the this thing of like, well, they have this, I guess, innate desire to guard bridges and just guard them, and sometimes even take a toll. Now I asked that I said to him that I will only help him up if he is paying his proper taxes. To which he says, well, I'm sure the people at Mord's Vizigrath, make sure that all the paperwork's in check and such. And so, once again, we figure out all the things that we could use: the block and tackle, the rope, the grappling hook, all this, that, and the other. Vortex warp. And so trivializing the encounter, we move on safely as Cecil, I have called him, Cecil of the Twin Bridges, takes a seat and reads a book and has a cup of tea. As we continue on, we face off with goblins and bugbears. I didn't do the combat encounter here, so we beat them. While taking some hits as well, and not to mention as well, Nero gets in I think 1 or 2 hits as well, like really impressive. Swipes at a goblin, and I think he even kills one, which was really good. Or he kills a bugbear or something like that, which not in one go. He does a D4 of damage plus however much damage. But yeah, he's really good for swooping into combat and just launching himself away. I imagine that's not going to be used very often, or at least he's only going to get a couple of attacks in per combat, because we don't want him to end up dying. They are animal companions are really squishy. And D&D has I think ever since D&D has had animal companions, it's always been you are expected to replace them. I think even as written, the Steel Defender companion is supposed to die and you just build another one, but I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't really, because they don't really throw death saves as such, so I don't know if it can just be repaired from nothing, whatever. But yeah, it's I think I've made quite clear that no, I am not building another Rigsby. I will go through hell and high streams. I will pay the 5,000 gold pieces to revive a 5 Rigsby, whatever the mechanical equivalent is. But yeah, that's something we could talk about another time. But yeah. So anyway, Nero managed to get a kill and do a lot of damage, but naturally has to escape from combat so that he doesn't get into too much trouble. And who knows? Yeah, maybe he'll have death saves. I hope so, or some other sort of mechanic to make sure that he's kept alive for as long as possible. Anyway, so we defeat the goblins and the bugbears, and we find 5 gold pieces. I think in future what we might have to do is I might have to have okay, Reckonar roll strength to shake the enemy's pockets, and then when he throws them back into the ground, I'll just carefully go through the pockets and just find anything else that may be tucked away. Because the DM had to say, the commissar's really good at this kind of stuff, because I get a +7 to investigation. It's my one good skill. So we enter Friagate, and Cornelius especially feels that he's at home. We're in a trade square now, with a lot of hustle and bustle. There's a Beastmaster that we notice in the corner of her eye, and but Reckonar really makes a mental note of it, as he really wants to see a jeweler's about selling off the rubies that we found at the what's it called? The Sewer King's place. So, as we walk the streets, we notice that there's no red crests, as there's not really a police force here in Friagate, but the guards are private guards hired to protect the merchant classes. They still want to keep the peace, but if it's more really for the sake of business rather than a sense of honour and duty. There's also now I was meaning to ask about this at the time, but I didn't quite catch who they were, but we also come across an organisation called the Bookkeepers, who settle the books one way or another. No, oh, I've got the song in my head now. Anyway, so we go to the Inquisitive Jeweler to sell the rubies from the Sewer King's lair. And as we do that, Cornelius decides that he's going to find a local temple of Melee and a traveller's inn just to get the gossip of what's going on in town. So on the way we come across Walter's Wildlife World. Keep losing your pet, come inside and we'll solve all your pet woes. So Ragnar keeps us in mind and continues on. We'll see what that has, because I think I can cook something up for it. Arriving at the jeweller's, it has a limestone quality to it, with a fairly decently built thatched roof. But there appears to be a halfway dissected jewel on the sign, like a Ye-Olde pub. As we open up the door, there's a cacophony of multi-spectral light as various jewels line the counters. A small team of goblins run around, a broad goblin looking up at us, inspecting a gemstone. Welcome to our shop. Is there anything I can do to... anything I can do for you? And reminded of Arkwright from Open All Out. Welcome to our shop. Is there anything I can do to have you nerve for you? Doing his shop games chair. And
when you consider what a tiny speck this planet is on the cosmic landscape, isn't it marvellous that the VAT man can find his way to my shop whenever he feels like it? You can't fault my double-entry bookkeeping, but I still view his visits with a sense of foreboding.
Foreboding? That's 2 4s. You mean 8 boding.
I'm the double-entry talking now.
we ask to appraise the jewels. Now, apparently, if the jewels are actually worth anything, that he can charge 10% for the cost of appraisal of the total value. And we eventually haggle down. Takavria being the current face of the party, as Cornelius isn't here. No, that made him sound really bad. I do apologise. Doing a good job of reducing it down to 5%. The goblin, through gritted teeth, accepts this little payment. This small payment. And another lady goblin eyes him for get him out of his miserly ways. I do like the DM's response to my attempts at haggling, which were like, well, the military's seen a lot of cutbacks. You couldn't do a bit more for us, could you? And he says, well, look, sorry, but as much as I support our boys in uniform, I am still allowed to, I'm still allowed to trade under the constitutions that you protect. And I sort of grin devilishly back at him like, yeah, because he is right, and that's the kind of thing that my character really likes, and I like that because I love the admin and the logistics of D&D. And when things like that happen, when the rules that my character must protect at all times are used against them, then yeah, that's fine. That works really well. I think my character's going to get on alright in Friagate. This is like the sort of she loves the admin. She loves admin and paperwork and bureaucracy, so I think she's going to do alright here. So anyway, going back to Cornelius, we are approaching the end of the session. Cornelius finds the Temple of Melee, a performance space as much as it is a church. And he's looking around for Zukov, with his hood up, watching people enter and exit. Artists and artisans go about their business as he leaves, feeling a pang of sorrow. But he doesn't know them, or rather, they don't know him, what he went through. And with heavy heart, he tugs on the reins of his steed Marvin, and makes his way to the Friagate Greater Orphanage of Malil. The sound of joyous laughter melts away as he makes his way there, the place that caused him so much pain as a child under the yoke of Father Leonidas. I get that reference. He rounds the corner and sees it, or rather, what's left of it. The orphanage stands before him in a ruin with faded symbols saying, "For sale." It looks dilapidated. Nobody's been here for years, but he still feels the weight of it. With a heavy sigh, Cornelius Bonaparte makes his way forward. And that's where the session ends. Yeah, it was a good one. It was fantastic, and it was well worth the wait to get back into it. I'm very grateful to be playing the game again. I believe the next session is going to be a one-shot because one or two of the players can't make it. So yeah, so we'll be able to pick up there, because it would be a shame to miss out on it, especially when like a lot like we've now got like at least two characters who have reason to be in Friagate. Well, no, three if you count my character with no, we've all got reason to be in Friagate, really. Like, we've got Rakanao in the Place of Power. I want to see the family of the gentleman in the acting captain's log. You know, you've got Takavria and Cornelius now trying to find this like nervous system king. Yeah, I don't know what the title for this video is going to be. King of the Nervous System. Nervous System of the King. System of the Nervous King. I don't. But yeah, so yeah, I apologise this video's been a bit long-winded, and I hope enough payoff. But yeah, like I say, it's not a criticism of one player's ability to take notes. It's really, honestly, just the fact that like, I haven't been here and I haven't been recording notes well enough to give you the best session recap I can. But I hope that's going to change, and I hope as well that I know when I'm going to have more free time to be able to do session recaps, so that I can deliver them a bit better. But right now I'm doing this like on a weekday, and yeah, I need to sleep. So yeah, but I'll leave it there. Thank you ever so much for watching. Take care, and start for now.